Hey guys, it's Thermal Grace Monkey here, and I'm back once again with another video. In this video, I've been given another challenge. I had a friend of a friend reach out to me, requesting a gaming PC. They were on a tight budget, had about $250 to $300. So, we decided on building a $300 gaming PC, but there are two things we need to do. The first thing is it has to include a 1TB SSD. Doesn't matter if it's M.2 or SATA, just a 1TB SSD. And the second thing is it has to be able to play a few games that he normally plays. Fortnite, Marvel Rivals, Valorant, and Forza Horizon 5/6. So I'm going to real quick go over our parts list and what I paid for them. We'll go talk about the gaming performance a little bit, and then afterwards I'll talk about some different options you might have on the market depending on where you live. Kicking it off, we'll go with our CPU, motherboard, and RAM combo. It is a Ryzen 5 1600 paired with an ASRock B450 HDV motherboard and 16 gigs of ADATA XPG RAM that can do 2400 megahertz, all for the price of $70. For our SSD, I picked up a PNY CS900 refurbished 1TB SSD. For our CPU cooler, we have a Cooler Master Hyper 212 that I paid $10 on Facebook Marketplace for. For our graphics card, also on Facebook Marketplace, I found a $40 Asus Phoenix GTX 1066 gig graphics card. For our power supply, I got an open box 600 watt 80 plus Thermaltake Smart Series power supply. For our case, we have a Zalman S3 case with an acrylic side panel to save a few dollars. And for our fans, I got a 3-pack of Quincy 120mm RGB fans. So it all totaled out to be about $305. So we're a few bucks over, but not a big deal. And going into the games, I'll just get straight to it. For our first game, Fortnite. I played it for a few hours so I could really get a good idea of what the performance was like. And overall, it did a good job. We averaged about 125 to 150 FPS. Aside from the occasional drop to the high 80s, low 90s, we found ourselves above 100 FPS nearly the whole time. And it was a really smooth experience. So much so, I wasn't focused on the frame rate. And I feel like a lot of people, that's what they focus on, is just FPS number. And I was more focused on just kind of playing the game, seeing is it like an enjoyable experience. And it totally was. Totally playable and something that I could play on and have zero issues at all. The second game we're going to do is Valorant. Valorant, we averaged about 220 to 240 FPS, and it was a smooth experience. Occasionally, we would drop to the low 200 FPS range, but it was a smooth experience overall. 1080p, lower graphic settings, and even if we did turn up the graphics, we still found ourselves at about 200 FPS pretty much the whole time. So overall, it doesn't really matter the graphic settings. You'll have a smooth gaming experience on Valorant. It's not necessarily going to make you better, but you will have a smooth experience. The system won't be the reason that you're losing. For our third game, it's Marvel Rivals. And Marvel Rivals is a tough one. The minimum specs ask for either a Ryzen 5 1600 or an i5 6600K, 16 gigs of RAM, and they ask for a graphics card with at least 4 gigs of VRAM. But the minimum specs they ask for are a GTX 1060 or an RX 580. So we have the minimum specs, essentially. A Ryzen 5 1600, 16 gigs of RAM, and a GTX 1060. So when I put it to 1080p, FSR 3 performance, and turned everything down to as low as I possibly could, we found ourselves a nice, smooth experience, averaging about 60 to 75 FPS. Occasionally, we would drop into the high 50s, but again, if I wasn't counting the FPS, I wouldn't notice a difference. I was so focused on trying to play the game, and in this recording, not playing it well, clearly, as our team steadily got our asses kicked, but still was a smooth enough experience where I wasn't focusing on the frame rate. I was focusing on trying to win the game, which I wasn't able to do. And wrapping it up with our final game, Forza Horizon 5. Now, Forza Horizon 5, it asks for at least a quad-core processor. It asks for at least 8 gigs of RAM. And for the graphics card, it asks for a graphics card with at least 3 gigs of VRAM. So we have our Ryzen 5 1600, 16 gigs of RAM, and a 1066 gig. It can totally handle that. and I ran one benchmark. Ran it at medium, 8x MSAA, and then just tried to drive around a little bit and see how it was. And it did a good job. We averaged about 60 FPS pretty much the whole time, medium, 8x MSAA. And our lows, we were in the 50s, and for our highs, we were in the 70s. So a pretty close averaged gaming experience. And while I was playing Forza, I had zero issues. I could not tell the difference between playing on a high-end or low-end system. It was nice and smooth. It did a good job. The graphics were good. Is it the sharpest quality in this and that? No. But that wasn't kind of the goal of this. It was to have a good, competent gaming experience and have something good enough for Forza Horizon 6, which is set to come out mid-May. And when I did the GTX 1060 6GB video last week, when I had recorded it, it was the day before it had come out. So now that we have the specs, let's take a look at what we have and what's reported to be the minimum specs. For the CPU, it asks for either an i5-8400 or a Ryzen 5 1600. Well, we have a Ryzen 5 1600, so we should be good. It asks for 16 gigs of RAM, which we have, and for the graphics cards, it asks, depending on the brand, for different ones. For Intel, it asks for either the Arc A380 or B390M. For Radeon cards, it asks for a 4GB RX 5500 XT, and for NVIDIA, it asks for at least a GTX 1650. So it seems like it's asking for cards with at least 4 gigs of VRAM. And our GTX 1060 6GB, although a generation older than the 1650, has a much more powerful GPU with more VRAM. So if drivers aren't going to be an issue for it, the GTX 1060 should definitely be able to handle this game. And overall, we should have a good system to handle Forza Horizon 6 in the future here. So overall, would I say this is a great system? I would say so. For $300, it's not a bad option. The fans, I spent $15 on those Consley fans, and you actually don't even need to spend the money on those. You could save yourself $15 and be at $290 and take that extra $10 between the $290 and $300. Take that extra $10 and have it go towards whatever else you might need. The Zalman S3, it comes with 3 fans. I didn't know that. I thought it only came with 1. It actually comes with 3. So you have 2 in the front and 1 in the back, and it does a good job. As far as the power supply goes, a lot of people will give it flack, but I feel like it is a good, solid, suitable power supply that I personally daily drove with my RTX 2060 for about 4 years until just a year or 2 ago when I upgraded to my 3080. I daily drove this, a same power supply and an RTX 2060 for 4 years without any issues, and I have tons of other people that have used this power supply and have had no issues. So I'm fairly comfortable with the power supply as long as you're more in the budget and lower wattage parts. It is more than capable. If you're gonna get a higher end, newer graphics card, definitely get a better power supply. But at $300, definitely more than enough for this system. As far as it goes for the storage, I noticed that the open box was a kind of rare anomaly. You're not going to get a lot of those. The cheapest ones I've seen are $90 SATA SSDs that are a terabyte. Most of the brands that I've seen are PNY, like I've already purchased, Patriot, as well as TimeTech, and they're all a very good brand of SSDs. I have seen some Chinese ones as well come on the market, and the reviews seem to be okay for them, but that's up to your discretion of whether or not you want to use them. For the graphics card, I found the 1060 to be a really popular $40 to $50 graphics card on my local marketplaces. Facebook, OfferUp, Mercari, Craigslist, whatever you're buying on, I've seen them for like $40. And not just where I live, I've seen them all over the states while I've been traveling. These cards have been slowly but steadily going down in price, and especially now that it's no longer getting active new driver support and it's just security updates. This card, it's going to go down in price, and it's still a solid card. It can still handle itself. And if you have a little bit more money, some of the other higher-end 1070, 1080 cards might be great options as well as they start to go down in price as well. The next thing is the CPU cooler. I got my Cooler Master Hyper 212 for $10, and I've noticed you can find a lot of CPU coolers for free or dirt cheap, a few dollars. I mean, A lot of people, I notice, they'll get a CPU and then they'll get an aftermarket cooler and they'll have just tons of stock ones sitting around. I have a few myself sitting around. But as far as it goes for like an aftermarket cooler, like a tower cooler, a lot of times people will buy bundle deals and it's cheaper than buying all those parts individually, even if they don't need the tower cooler. So they'll usually buy the bundle deal, the tower cooler will be there, and they'll just sell it for a few bucks, you know, get it out of here, you can have it for free, whatever. So I paid 10 bucks for mine, and it's a more than capable CPU cooler for a majority of the CPUs that we would have on the AM4 platform. And finally, our CPU, motherboard, and RAM combo. I realize that 70 bucks for this combo might be a little difficult to find. A lot of the ones I've seen are usually about 75 to 85 bucks. So that extra $10 that we freed up by not getting those fans would be a really good option to throw that towards. And as far as it goes for this CPU, I mean, the 1600, although it's a Zen 1, it's still capable. The B450, it's not a great board, but it'll be able to handle at least a lot of the Ryzen 5s and some of the Ryzen 7s. And for the RAM, it's 16 gigs of 2400 megahertz, but I will take 16 gigs of slow RAM than 8 gigs of fast RAM. So for 70 bucks, I wanted to really emphasize that deals like this can definitely be had if you wait and you're patient and you keep a watchful eye. I got mine on eBay, but you can find them on eBay, and especially at your local marketplaces, you can find some good deals as well for people that just want to get rid of some old hardware, and they'll get rid of it in a bundle to just not deal with having to sell everything individually. So I hope this video was helpful for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys did, if you guys could please hit that like button. If you didn't, feel free to hit the dislike button. Totally understand. If you guys are enjoying my content, if you guys hit that subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you guys get notifications for when my videos go live. And again, leave me some comments. Let me know what you guys thought about the video, what things you guys would do differently, and let me know what other videos you guys want to see from me, what other tech reviews or challenges you guys want to see from me. So, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your week. All right, later, guys.